From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Nation leaders are gathering in Paris to discuss climate change, but what will that mean for Arizonans? Representative Raul Grijalva shares his plans with us live from Washington.
Plus, be cautious on your morning commute. A new study shows Arizona drivers are some of the worst in the nation.
And a new plan in the works would add thousands of students to state universities, but many wonder if quantity will diminish quality.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Lauren Michaels.
And I'm Mitch Casada. Thanks for joining us.
Wind generators, solar panels, and electric bicycles decorated the streets of Paris this morning in preparation for COP21, the United Nations Conference on Climate Change. Leaders from 195 countries are expected to attend the conference to discuss an agreement on worldwide limitation on greenhouse gases. This morning, the leaders of the world's top pollution-producing countries, President Obama and China's President Xi Jinping, met to discuss what they could do to reduce pollution.
I've come here personally as the leader of the world's largest economy and the second largest emitter to say that the United States of America not only recognizes our role in creating this problem, we embrace our responsibility to do something about it.
Citizens from countries around the world held marches leading up to the conference. People in Australia, the Philippines, and France marched to demand action.
While President Obama is pledging to cut U.S. greenhouse gas emissions as much as 28% in the next 10 years, some in Washington are calling for more decisive action. Cronkite News reporter Elizabeth Blackburn is live at the U.S. Capitol with one Arizona lawmaker rallying for that cause.
I'm here with Arizona Congressman Raul Grijalva. He has introduced a resolution that is calling on the U.S. to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to zero by 2050. Congressman, can you tell me a little bit about the resolution?
Well, the resolution is timed to at the beginning of the Paris Summit on climate change, where 194 nations and all the world leaders, President Obama and all the world leaders are going to be there, diplomats, with the intention of how do we come to grips with this reality of climate change, the greenhouse gas effect, the role that humanity plays in that issue, and the dire consequences if we don't do anything about it, and to come to some agreements. Our resolution calls for some ambitious goals to be set, probably goes further than the president goes on this, but with the intention of really making an impact by 2050. So we're at zero level in terms of emissions. 2030, where half our electrical power comes from renewable and alternative energy, and setting goals on how you make that transition for workers, for our society as a whole, for our infrastructure, and how we begin to reformat the way we live in a sense. And so our resolution, with 20 original co-sponsors at this point, I'm sure we're going to get many more members of Congress, is with the intention of setting an ambitious agenda and having the American people come to grips with the reality of what climate change means at this moment, the dire consequences that could bestow this planet if we don't do something, and to begin to look at adaptation and how we mitigate the fact that this is happening. It's irreversible if we don't do anything. It's controllable if we take some bold steps to begin to deal with climate change.
And some of your critics would say that this is a job killer. What would you say to them?
Well, we realize that that's going to be one of the points that is brought up. We have a big section about retraining, how we deal with the workers, how we deal with that workforce. To those that claim it's a job killer, it's also, in the long run, not doing anything about climate change is going to have major devastation in terms of societal cost, workers and their jobs, because climate change, if it's not reversed and controlled, begins to dominate everything else we do, and that's going to be expensive. And the jobs that we're talking about being lost are the first jobs that'll be sacrificed in terms of an emergency situation, trying to come to grips with the fact that climate change is upon us and we haven't done anything about it.
Thank you, Congressman. The caucus resolution comes as the House is expected to vote tomorrow on Senate resolutions that express disapproval of EPA proposals to reduce power plant emissions. Live at the U.S. Capitol, Elizabeth Blackburn, Cronkite News.
Climate experts here in the Valley are watching the international debate closely. Some activists say Arizona is not making a big enough environmental impact and point to a lack of support from state legislatures.
Our pledge of 26 to 28% reduction will only really happen if we put political will towards it and make sure that we are working on it every day up until that goal.
Cronkite News is committed to covering the ongoing climate debate as part of our sustainability beat. For full coverage, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
It's the 10th anniversary of Cyber Monday, and with new online deals all day long, shoppers have been giving some business websites more business than they can handle. Target.com has been down on and off, joining PayPal, Walmart, and Neiman Marcus as companies overwhelmed by online shoppers since Black Friday. According to a 2014 IBM retail report, Cyber Monday continues to grow in both online sales and in mobile sales. Mobile sales accounted for 22% of all Cyber Monday online sales in 2014, while mobile traffic accounted for nearly 40% of all online traffic last year, an increase of 30% from 2013. Smartphone users averaged nearly $100 per order. Tablet users averaged $122, but desktop users did spend the most, spending $128 average per order. And when you think of Cyber Monday, Amazon, eBay, and big retailers come to mind. But small businesses are also hoping to cash in on the shopping day. Yahaira Hawkes takes us to an old-fashioned candy company, changing with the times.
I'm at Soretta's Candy Company in Glendale, which has been making treats in the Valley for over 20 years. And today on Cyber Monday, it too is offering some sweet deals. The Trinisi family has been visiting Soretta Candy Company for years, but the girl's favorite part doesn't change.
I love eating it. It's really good. The sea salt caramel, that's my favorite.
And Mom loves coming to get some Christmas shopping done.
We like to get the specialty, Arizona-made chocolates for people who live out of town.
VP Joe Soretta says keeping the candy factory open for families like the Trinisis to shop at and tour is the sweet part of doing business.
And that's what's so nice about the retail end of the business. It's only maybe a third of what our business is, but it's the most fun.
Even as the company is shifting online, a necessary step according to the third-generation candy maker.
We're a 92-year-old company in our fourth generation, fifth coming along. You have to change with the times.
And it's putting that mentality into practice today, offering a Cyber Monday deal on its best sellers.
They're 25% off today.
It's because it's another way to market themselves and another way to get more customers that, they otherwise wouldn't have.
But even in a high-tech world, clicks online aren't what customers remember.
Probably remember how comforting everybody is and how nice and so good the chocolate is here.
They'll be busy all day here making chocolates per usual and taking online orders. In Glendale, Yahaira Hawkes, Cronkite News.
Attorney General Mark Brnovich has filed a petition with the Arizona Supreme Court to remove Corporation Commissioner Susan Bitter-Smith from office. Brnovich is alleging that Bitter-Smith is ineligible to hold office because of a conflict of interest as a registered lobbyist and executive for a trade association of cable companies. In a statement, Brnovich wrote, "We filed this case today to protect the integrity of the commission and to restore the faith of Arizona voters in the electoral process. Arizona law clearly prohibits a commissioner from receiving substantial compensation from companies regulated by the commission." No statement yet from Bitter-Smith or her attorney. She's currently chairman of the 5-member commission.
Arizona is now in the top 10 when it comes to states with the worst drivers in the nation. Cronkite News reporter Aaron Johnson found a recent study that places Arizona at number 6. Aaron?
According to a study released by CarInsuranceComparison.com, Arizona ranks 3rd for careless driving and 7th for failure to obey traffic laws. Home of the 6th largest city in America, has been deemed the 6th worst state to drive in.
Especially in the summertime, people get agitated and short-tempered when it comes to city driving, especially.
According to data provided by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, states were ranked according to the following categories: fatality rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, failure to obey traffic laws, drunk driving, speeding, and careless driving. Arizona ranked 6th because of its high number of deaths due to its careless driving and failure to obey traffic laws. Some drivers even admit to having made these mistakes in the past.
So I was a teenage driver once, and I tried to drive my mom's vehicle sometimes, and I was out on the 51, and I made a mistake, and I hit a 360 on the 51, and then I didn't get in trouble, and I turned my head up, make sure it was safe, and carried on my way.
The Arizona Department of Transportation recommends drivers pay closer attention before stepping into their vehicle.
Be patient, slow down, don't drink and drive, and take your time and you'll get there. Seatbelts save countless lives in Arizona and around the nation, and we urge Arizonans to set a good example, buckle up.
Alberto Gutierrez, director of the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, will speak at a press conference tomorrow addressing the annual statewide launch of the DUI Task Force. They are instructed to be on the lookout for any dangerous driving, impaired or not. Live in downtown Phoenix, Aaron Johnson, Cronkite News.
Arizona colleges are about to get a lot bigger. How big? One school will add around 35,000 students. I spoke with the Arizona Board of Regents to find out why. Expect a lot of college students.
The more the merrier.
In the next decade. Last week, the Arizona Board of Regents approved a metrics plan to add more than 60,000 students to the 3 major universities in Arizona by 2025. The goal is to increase the number of college-educated adults in Arizona.
As long as they can have staff and a place to put everybody, then I don't see what the problem is.
NAU would add about 7,000 students, while U of A would increase about 22,000. ASU is already the largest public school in the nation, and its student population would grow to 125,000 students, making it the same size as the city of Surprise. Walking around ASU's campus on a weekday can be a lot of fun. There's students walking to class, I've got my backpack on, and I'm ready for class myself. But there are some students that are concerned about the population growth and how it might affect class sizes.
The class sizes are already pretty large, so I don't know if they're just going to try to make them larger, if they're going to have to build like larger student halls to store these kids for these lecture halls, or like if they're just gonna have to put more funding into teachers and things like that.
Arizona State University representatives were unable to meet with me on camera, but sent this statement saying the school, quote, provides quality programs with equally qualified, skilled faculty. As outlined in our ASU charter, we are not defined by whom we exclude, but by whom we include. This has attracted high caliber students who have and will continue to receive a quality education. The Arizona Board of Regents wanted to make clear that quantity will not diminish quality.
No one would ever question, in the case of Apple as an enterprise, whether they're both a large company and a high-quality company. Likewise, we should expect that our universities are positioned to deliver high-quality education.
Better education offered to more people is always good.
The Arizona Board of Regents said they have also set a goal for each school to improve their graduation rates by at least 10%.
Arizona is known for its 5 C's industries like citrus, cattle, and copper.
Now a specific chopper may be joining the list. Coming up on Cronkite News, we take you into the sky to see the military machinery made here in the valley that's gaining popularity around the world.
And many have debated allowing refugees into Arizona. Hear from a Syrian family who says fleeing to the United States gave them a second chance.
Reaching Arizona's communities uncovered by mainstream media. Discovering the untold stories of our state's women, men, children, and change makers.
We're taking a look at what's making news across Arizona.
This is the all-new Cronkite News initiative, Access Across Arizona. Live coverage of topics that matter and people who make a difference. Delivered to the homes of Arizona PBS viewers like you. Cronkite News Access Across Arizona is made possible by Women and Philanthropy.
The easiest and best way to support Arizona PBS is by becoming a sustaining member. Your monthly contribution of $5 or more comes directly from your bank account or credit card, so you know your membership is always current. It also means no more renewal notices in your mailbox. So more of your dollars go to the programs you love. It's convenient for you, greener for us, and better for the planet. Become a sustaining member today.
Hi, I'm Judy Woodruff, co-anchor of the PBS NewsHour. Preparing the next generation of journalists has never been more important than it is now. With its groundbreaking partnership with Arizona PBS, the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at ASU is revolutionizing journalism education to provide students with a real opportunity to work and learn under the supervision of veteran journalists, producers, directors, and editors on newscasts, investigative stories, and documentary productions. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, reinventing journalism education in the digital age.
Welcome back to Cronkite News. The Boeing plant in Mesa plays a crucial role in military operations worldwide. It's the only place in the world producing the AH-64 Apache attack helicopter, and it's an aircraft used by the U.S. and 15 of its allies. Cronkite News reporter Audrey Wheel shows us why this helicopter is in increasing demand.
They call it the quarterback of the battlefield, and Boeing is already planning for the continued production of these Apache helicopters up to 50 years down the road. I toured the production plant and spent a day with the National Guard to learn more about the future of the AH-64.
The Apache helicopter is an amazing machine. Not only is it stealthy, but it's deadly.
There's a reason it's known as the world's premier attack helicopter.
There's nothing like it. To be able to come in from afar, spot an enemy target from afar, and come in and engage them, it's very effective, and that's why it's widely used.
It can carry up to 16 missiles, 76 rockets, or 1,200 30-millimeter rounds, not to mention its speed, range, and network and targeting capabilities.
Our international allies want the aircraft because of what it can do that nobody else can do.
And every national and international order goes through Mesa.
Right now, it takes 48 days for an Apache to go through this production line, and nearly 2,200 have been made here since the early 80s.
Some of the most recent helicopters to go through the production line were for South Korea, the latest country to add the AH-64 to its arsenal.
We have a lot of interest from additional countries in all regions of the world, and we're in different stages of discussions and negotiations with these countries.
And it's not just new contracts keeping the plant busy.
Virtually every country that's ever purchased an Apache has come back and asked for the upgraded models because they see the value that it brings, and they know that they need to continue to have and operate the Apaches.
Parts for these helicopters come from hundreds of suppliers around the world, but production has always happened in Mesa, and that's not expected to change.
We have solid production through 2026 now. We're already working the processes to keep it going from 2026 and beyond. And again, the Army's stating they're going to fly the Apache well into the 2060s, maybe 2070 timeframe.
Earlier this month, the U.S. National Guard held a gunfighter fly-in competition in Arizona, using AH-64s to simulate real-world flying and gunnery scenarios.
We go to the field, we arm our aircraft, every pilot, every aircraft shoots.
Anytime in both Iraq and Afghanistan, the recent conflicts we've had, anytime ground troops have been in contact with the enemy, Apaches have been there, and they've been able to support them and protect them. The enemy has known that when Apaches are in the area, those ground troops are safe.
And back here in Arizona, those at Boeing know just how important their contribution is.
Even though they're working here in Mesa, Arizona, they're making a difference in Afghanistan, they're making a difference in Saudi Arabia, they're making a difference in Asia Pacific. And they take that seriously because what we do is important and lives depend on the quality of the work that's done here in Mesa, Arizona.
The Mesa plant also builds the AH-6 light attack helicopter and will begin production on a new vertical lift aircraft next year. In the broadcast center, Audrey Wheel, Cronkite News.
Arizona has accepted 112 refugees from Syria this year. In total, there have been more than 3,500 since early 80s. But since repeated terror attacks, Governor Doug Ducey, along with dozens more across the U.S., have called for a halt to Syrian refugee placement. I had a chance to sit down with a family from Syria who shared their experience in settling in Phoenix.
This house tucked away in Phoenix holds a different kind of story. The people who now live here were recently fighting to keep their family alive, and with the help of a translator, they were able to share.
People were dead in the streets. You cannot pick them up.
A lot of kidnapping, a lot of rape, so I was really afraid.
We would be sitting peacefully, and then they would throw a nail grenade outside the house, shattering the window.
They are Syrian refugees, a mother, father, and 6 children who all came to the United States 2 months ago to escape the horror.
I would give them toys to make them forget about the bad conditions that we were living in.
After an extensive interview process and screening, taking a year and a half, they now can live here in the U.S. safely.
The future here is very safe. They can go to school, get an education. We saw the future here. It's very safe.
They wish all Americans would be welcoming.
I wish people can reconsider the decision to prevent Syrians from coming here. I wish they can see the conditions there. The Syrians are not terrorists. They really want to come to this country.
They want security and peace. They are afraid for the children.
But for these children, fear has given way to happiness.
My future here, my plan is to study hard, and have a good future in this country.
The family also told me that they have few reminders of their home in Syria. Their house burned down after they escaped. Many of their other family members are still in Syria.
New technology is making it easier for first responders to help in an emergency. Coming up on Cronkite News, see the program that is giving the Tempe Fire Department crucial information and families more peace of mind.
Growing up, my family had no real idea of where we came from. It's kind of like being in a fog because you feel like a piece of you is missing. What is the rest of my story? I saw African American Lives on PBS. I love the series, and there was a DNA kit that you could order to find out your African ancestry. And so I really got excited. My DNA results said that I was from Ghana. Wow. It just really opened me up to a whole new world, so I went ahead and started doing things. Now my mission is to write stories to have something to pass down to the next generation. It's important to know where you're from and to tell your children, teach them that. PBS helped me to go on a journey to discover who I was, and that journey will never end.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
In an emergency, the more information first responders have, the better. A system now being used in Tempe allows residents to tell police and fire specifics about their home and family. As Wafa Shahid reports, it can reduce the time it takes to react in an emergency.
Police Department is one of the few police departments in the state that has implemented the Smart 911 program, allowing Tempe residents to share more information about themselves with law enforcement.
911, what is your emergency?
Smart 911 is a program that gives Tempe residents the option to share more information about themselves and their families with the police department in order to make the first response process more efficient in an emergency.
Smart 911, what it does is when you call 911, the phone number that we receive the call from is sent to a database that's held by the company, and they look through their database and it sends us back what we call a profile.
Within these profiles, citizens can share any type of information they'd like to disclose, like how many pets they have, any history of mental illness in the family, and even pictures of themselves. Over 70% of 911 calls happen from a mobile phone, and only your phone number and a very general sense of your location are provided to a 911 call taker.
So that's a lot of calls that we receive that have no information available to them.
When you call 911 from a landline, the only information provided to the 911 call dispatcher is your name, address, and phone number. Tempe Police says residents are pleased with the program.
Gives them that additional sense of safety when they call 911.
1 to 5 Smart 911 profiles appear each week at the Tempe Police Department, and there are well over 400 profiles created.
I think it'll definitely, first of all, expedite any process because they go into the situation knowing firsthand that they have a couple extra things that they have to do. So having like a plan of action before anything actually occurs is pretty smart.
For those concerned with the privacy of their information shared via Smart 911, Tempe Police says the information is only available for 45 minutes after the initial call to a 911 dispatcher. In the broadcast center, I'm Wafa Shahid, Cronkite News.
Arizona Governor Doug Ducey officially kicked off the holiday season today by flipping the switch and lighting the Capitol Christmas tree. To keep tradition going, they brought in a live tree from the Coconino National Forest. The Herrera Elementary School Choir also brought in the holiday cheer by singing Christmas carols. Red and gold bulbs filled the tall spruce that barely cleared the ceiling. Before flipping the switch, Ducey honored our veterans, those still serving, and their families.
Whatever we celebrate, wherever we celebrate, and whatever religion we practice, however we choose to spend Christmas and ring in the new year, we are blessed to be doing so in the most peaceful, safest, and freest country on earth.
The Capitol has invited choirs from around the valley to sing in the Executive Tower every day until Christmas.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's next on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
Coming up after Cronkite News, it's Arizona Horizon. Hear from the winner of an award for excellence in reporting on disability issues and see what Arizona Town Hall participants had to say about preserving the state's water.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, the world gathers in Paris for a major summit to combat climate change. That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.